In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Okay. The clouds that await your feet, that await the feet of our species. And so, whoever you are, this moment has found you, and I have also found this moment. And so, there is something beautiful I am witnessing behind my eyes, and it is worthy of sharing. For this might be the most interesting lecture on walking ever. I mean, so dear viewers, the fascination going from the wallpaper of the video, the thumbnail of the video, not the wallpaper, the thumbnail. All right. Okay, hopefully you can hear me well. I've positioned my phone on the steering wheel of my studio. And so, folks, there is something to this episode, something deeper than my fatigue in this moment, how tired I am. But aside from that, in the inner realms, it takes less energy than like I can run with less energy behind my eyes than in front of it. So it's similar with speech. And so, as a human being alive now, I am tasked with reporting this moment for it. So, I need to start with the title. What does it mean? The clouds that await your feet or our feet? What are these clouds that are waiting for us to step on it? Firstly, I don't mean the title in a way of signifying death. There is an expression. I remember I saw this store that had closed and somebody had put a sign behind the window that said, like, the owner is walking on clouds, you know? And I don't mean it in that sense. I'm not talking about the afterlife here. I am talking about the human fascination of how far our steps will take us. And so I find that before the end of days, there are certain things that need to be played out. As if, first of all, I got to start from here, actually. So you are listening to a human being that believes and to himself knows that this world is an existential simulation and it has a system admin. If you want me to make it more relatable to you, because I believe in God, I believe in the God that is beyond imagination, and I'm trying to tell you, it's like the most modern way I could tell you, it's like believing in a system admin. If you want me to not use technical, like technology terms, let's say, I will say this world has a host. It has a host. It has a heart. It has a source. It has a moment of causation, regardless of all the simulations we find. Humanity has been baffled by trying to figure out how could the invisible cause the visible. Or excuse me, humanity has been baffled by what was the original. That means how could something in a state that nothing has been created create something? It is pretty much the infinite regress fallacy. That means it's like saying, yo, who created me? Going back, going back, going back. Eventually you realize the first domino was not pushed by creation. It was pushed by the creator. It's another way of saying we did not create ourselves. And to me, I think the test of civilization is that what kind of civilization do you want to be in, and if there is an advanced power in the room, if the system admin of the simulation is present in the simulation and those in the simulation notice this, what is the protocol? The reason I'm talking about this is because my whole talk is based on is for human advancement. But to truly wonder about human advancement, one has to bypass fear through the majesty of how important truth is. To me, this world has an owner. The owner is not human. The owner is a power. It is not a person. It is a power. This power can present itself in ways beyond our understanding, expectation, and awareness. Truth is a power beyond the imaginings of humanity. And so I find pretty much going through this process of being, whether you're secular or not, whether you're secular or religious, it doesn't matter. Eventually the analysis will be conducted of, okay, why are there 8 billion human beings on this planet? And what is the greatest outcome? This question, for those mighty souls in the realm, you will wonder about this. You will wonder not about only your destiny. You will wonder about the destiny of destiny itself. You will wonder about the destiny of your species. You will wonder about the value of your presence in this world. And was it just valuable to you? It seems to me that being alive here for a certain time is an opportunity. And it's very important, I guess, to wonder about what's going on and humanity's role in the presence of God's greatness, actually. I'm a human being in the year 2025. I was born in 1991. In these years and time, I have witnessed existence, and I have not, maybe I have externally not been as courageous as I have internally been. Meaning, it kind of like when you're raised in this life and it's hard for you, not hard for you, but when you don't like yourself as a concept, your vitality becomes dependent on the context of moments. At some point, your attention goes to not how you're being something in the moment, it goes to where you are and what is going on in the context where your definitions are extracted from. Just like how there's a self and there's a world. The self is the concept, the world is the context. Now, we're wondering about the human concept, or just how human beings are born. They're given a certain time period, and what must they do, and what must their value system be based on. And how far can humanity go? That means me giving this lecture now, in regards to the clouds that await our feet. Maybe 1,000 years from now, there's going to be people in the clouds, just chilling, legit walking on clouds, mime-like. This lecture is a tribute to the future greatness of humanity. And really, it's in some sense like streams merging into one river that goes to the ocean. It's like we're born inside a system. I'm going to say this again. It's an existential system. We are simulated as existential beings for some time here. Our meaning is also simulated, but there seems to be something deeper in the position of the human intelligence that in some sense can notice that which is simulated. We do not just have the advantage of existing, we have the advantage of being aware of our existence. This awareness to our existence, in some sense, was changed into a subjective mode, meaning that people looked at this world. It was too unknown, too vast, too mysterious. And so what do you do when you see something that is, in some sense, unknown or immeasurable? Do you understand? You in some sense hide it in containment. You contain it. And so I want you, whoever you are listening to, understand that there is a world here that is conditioned, and there is a world here that its presence is unconditional, or the intelligence that moves it is unconditional. Pretty much the conditional is simulated, the unconditional is original. The unconditional is the cause of the simulated conditions of reality. Now, where humanity goes, it's in some sense becoming aware of the unconditional presence of truth. Something very fascinating about the religious idea of God is that it is the absolute in the qualities of man. When it comes to mercy, God is all merciful. When it comes to power, God is all powerful. When it comes to, it is the absolute archetype of all fathomable aspects of existence. That means any being that becomes conscious in reality cannot avoid the might of its intelligence that can notice that. That means on some level, it's strange, but it's like, sure, you can assume that your body is yours, but you were given a body. A body was given. A world was given. A reality was given. Meaning was given. And the question is not, what am I? What was I given? The question is, who gave it? Who gave existence to this moment? And how far does the depth of the awareness of man roar? We are not in the presence of just a known world and a vast unknown world. We are in the presence of the author. It's like to be a human, a soul, is equivalent to a character inside a novel realizing that the author has written the novel and is now rereading it. It's as if sometimes I feel God created existence and now wants to see what it has created. Do you understand? God has no need for man. God is viewing its creation, witnessing its creation, administering its creation. It is man. And the whole point of it is, like I often think about this, that if I was an original being and I created simulations, simulated beings, I would want to see if these simulated beings can notice me. This might sound strange, but I think deep down all writers and authors are fascinated by this, that if their characters inside their novels could notice them. It's as if Tolkien wondering if Gandalf had enough wisdom to notice he was the author of The Lord of the Rings. You know? What I mean is that the unconditional means unconditional to our conditions. I think the test of the being is based on the awareness of the being. What you are aware of as a human being in every moment, it's like you're being tested on. But how are you being tested? You're being tested to see if the simulation owns you, or you can discover the owner of the simulation. If this world is a simulation, the way out of it is not like it's at the mercy of the system admin. We are not in a world where it's just humans that can just define it. We are in a world where the human is an expression of manifestation. It is a type of power. It is not the ultimate power, and its power is not ultimately it. That means it's very difficult for me to say that am I right now an individual in the presence of God, or am I part of God's greatness of expression? That means what's fascinating, one of my fascinating discoveries, and it was something so obvious but never I had seen it with that depth, was that I did not create myself. You might be able to choose yourself, but you don't create yourself. That means I did not create this DNA. I did not create this world. I did not create any of this. All that I'm assuming to be me is where an attention somehow here in an unknown way is locked on. So, dear human beings, we've been playing along with this narrative of like, yeah, guys, it's all just one physical story somehow, and we're characters in it. But in reality, we are strangers. This world does not feel like home, yet we must treat it as such. That means if I was born alone, the meaning of reality would be very different. But because I am born in a human civilization, I cannot avoid the design of it. Really, what consciousness is doing is accessing form, and in some sense comparing the design to other designs. It's like, why don't children have that many opinions? Not just because they can't talk, they don't have enough reference points of reality. You might not understand it, but right now, even this moment, just like every moment of my life, has been a performance. My whole life has been a known temporary self performing within an unknown moment of awareness. That has been my life. And we call that human. I think it's like they're like, yo, man, what is the exact way you can get a human? It's like, yeah, give perfection ignorance, and in some sense, it'll have a nostalgia for truth till the end of its life. There will come a time where, just like this talk ends, every moment will meet an end. Do you know what that means? Sometimes I think about, what does death, natural death, mean? What does it mean when a person is exiting this reality? What does it mean when they become aware that they are near the exit of reality? It's honestly a performance in front of yourself, in front of your species, and in front of the creator of all of it. And because it's a simulated performance, it's important. It's important what's simulated. That means it's like, from one angle, the system admin is testing its created users to see if the users can notice beyond their programming that truth is in the room, not that the users are truth. Because there's some things in modern civilization don't make sense. The story of us is much better than what we actually are. I shouldn't say better, but it's like we're all treating it as a story. You're all identifying with chunks of land and abstract terms, yet because they have become synonymous meaning, subjective meaning is, poured into the moment. I'm some guy who had dreams and numerous inner visions on sky cities. For me, castles in the sky were like, I felt that's a problem. Like, there's going to be archaic revival of that somehow, or purpose. Mankind has lived on the ground. The sky is left. It will go and live there. So that has to happen before the world ends. Man is not fully aware of his whole body. That means I can move my arms and legs, and I'm aware of like my outer body, but inside my body, I'm not aware of every cell in my body. There will come that time that there will be, like, that needs to come to fruition before, I think, the end of days. And it's on some level obvious, the programs that are present now. Sometimes you may look at life and be like, yo, am I lucky, unlucky? But in honesty, it's just the moment you've entered the room. It's as if there were like billions of creatures doing things here, and then you suddenly entered the room. And most of them are busy, occupied by what they are only doing. How will our civilization advance? And in the presence of what is it advancing? How do human beings define advanced? When you wonder about this idea, let's say anything, you wonder about the advanced anything, right? So let's say you wonder about the most advanced self. The most advanced is capable of functioning in ways that we cannot imagine in any field. If they told me right now, if I would like, what would the most advanced swordsman look like? Probably a swordsman that nobody could see the sword move, but the strikes were being made. Do you understand? It is like at some point of speed and power, manifestation taps out. Like what Einstein was saying was this, right? The dude's like, you go as fast as light, time slows down. What does that mean? Reality is a certain film at a certain speed. And at some point it may end if you reach that speed. That means sometimes, I don't know, are higher beings just beings that are much more faster because they're much more able because reality has been authorized that way? And to me, what's fascinating is God was not satisfied by angels. That means when God created man, some of the angels were like, why? Why are you creating this? Aren't we perfect? Do you know? Like, the question that was there, they're like, yo, we're perfected beings that can't ignore divine will. And guys, keep in mind, as a Muslim in Islam, Shaitan is not an angel. He's a pious jinn that was near God. Pretty much beings can, all created beings can become near God, right? Or think of it this way, if you created an android, that android has an ability to come near you. It may never be you or like you or understand how you understand, but it can come close to you. Man may not understand God. He may, I'm saying it's up to God's will if he decides. But I'm saying, like, we can be close to God. For me, it shifted from what's that secret knowledge I'm missing to, whoa, it's a game of noticing the system admin and getting closer to the system admin and understanding that the difference between a religious person, a God conscious person, and someone who's not is that God's presence matters. But what is God's presence? Is God's presence all of us? Now, this is where there's different schools. As a Muslim, because God is the ultimate, it cannot be this. It's like, it doesn't even have to do with, is it real or not? This room is a simulated room. And do you know how in the Holy Quran it says that this book is a warning and a confirmation? It's a confirmation for those who believe. You don't understand. Islam, sure, see it as a holy book, but it is a divine briefing. You don't understand. There's sentences, sentence structures, and such. It's like the most complex sentences in simple structure. See, divinity is realizing God's commands, plural, were faster than our processing power. The system admin is so advanced that man cannot process it due to his limited nature. It's like, how does a limited conditional entity comprehend an unconditional being, unimaginable being? For me, if they're like, yo, you say you believe in God and you have a relationship with God, but God is not a form, what do you have a relationship with? Like, I could totally see like certain Christians coming up to me and be like, yo, If God is not a person, who are you talking to, or what are you seeing, or whatnot? And I'm telling you, it's the difference I think I have with them, like a lot of people I've seen around me, is that I have come to this realization that truth is not a noun. This moment is not a noun. The human species has managed to give meaning to forms. Do you understand? But a verb cannot be, it's like, yo man, how am I being a self in a changing world? Have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought about it in a changing world where like every moment the cells in your body are not in the same place, like they're moving? In a changing world, we have the audacity to look at each other in the face and be like, yeah, man, I'm this idea and your idea. And let's be slow fools believing in the songs of our own, you know, footsteps. Like on some level, I don't know. On some level, I think it's a certain age. At some age, you get tired of existential theatrics. Excuse me, psychological theatrics. What do I mean? It's like the stuff in the world you didn't create, but the meaning, when you look at that stuff, you are assigning instantaneous subjective meaning to the degree that that object in front of you suddenly is a tree, and it has, just like a barcode, letters. Letters are code. Language is code. And perhaps one day you will realize so is natural law. So is nature. Like right now, this might be such a next level talk, really, because I don't know if anybody said it like this. Like right now, I'm looking at a tree outside of my car window. Now, imagine there was like millions of people around me, and I'm like, guys, does that tree exist right now? Like, if right now I see a tree, imagine I can touch the tree or whatever, right? Does that tree exist? Now, the next question is, to what does it exist? See, this is where if you just go with ego, you fall short. The ego doesn't, like, let me tell you what the ego is. It is kinda, I don't want to say like dark, like in a negative way, but I want to say the ego is, think of it this way, an imaginary you. It's the you that in thought form, okay? And the issue with the ego is that the moment it fails, it can just not exist. There's been moments where I've thought, like, my mind's been like, yo man, go do this, you're gonna go do the right thing, go do that. Like, I made a plan of action, I went through it, and I didn't get the result. Do you know? And then in that moment, instead of that ego that was like running after that thing it couldn't get, instead of that ego like accepting it was wrong, it disappeared. I've noticed that when fear or when reality gets intense, I am not a subject, I'm more like a presence in the moment. But when reality is comfortable, inner realms unleashed. They're like, yo, it's like, do you understand? Like, this is my firm belief. Like, I think anybody who calms down, like, you don't get it. It's like the moment you feel, maybe I don't know, honestly, I don't know. There's 8 billion different people on this planet. I don't know how they're all hearing what I'm saying, but I'm trying to tell you, if anybody came and asked me, what can you experience, like, what is your experiential background in talking about the mind, I will say, think of it this way. Because in my youth, it was a blessing in disguise. In my youth, I was shy, introverted, and I was not real to myself when I was young. And by not being real to myself, there was no self to be. There are some people right now, you're like, mashallah, look at their confidence. They go up there, they roar. Do you know, it's like they're Vikings in their own universe, and people are like, yeah, man, this is something. Do you know? There are people right now that have confidence to do things I cannot even fathom myself doing. Do you understand? I haven't even attempted to fathom myself doing. But there is a strange value. There is a value to not being able to be yourself. And as strange as that may sound, I am speaking specifically to those children on earth who, or any soul, introverted souls, that you feel there's a force field between you and external reality. People don't know what introversion is, but it's like the result of intense social anxiety because your mind has noticed things you don't understand. Like if an alien lands in a room, and the introvert will notice first. Do you know? The extrovert is too busy doing breakdancing, like doing air tracks on the ground. Yeah. That means I have a theory that many of the prophets were introverts. They were beings who the outer realms were not satisfied. That means you could be like the Buddha. Okay? The Buddha was born as a prince. They're like, yo, man, the most spiritual guy was a prince, bro. Do you know, like, not the most, but like this spiritual dude was a prince. His father was like an actual emperor. Okay? And they're like, okay, right? And then what did this guy realize? Buddha realized it was the test of his life. He realized in the outer realms, he was given something compared to the outer realms of others, a paradise. But in his outer life, in the outer realms, he was a prince of a kingdom. Okay? But in his inner life, he was a peasant in an unknown world. Do you know what that means? The Buddha saw something bigger. The Buddha is also the world's most famous spoiled child. Do you know? But he was very blessed by God, even though Buddhists may not entertain the notion of God, because you identify with the space rather than that which commands the movement in the space. If I was to tell you what is God, I would have to point to that which is beyond form. It is even so beyond form that what can a formed being do? And these poor, like, theists debating atheists, the atheist goes up to him and it's like, bro, put God on the table. I gotta see it to believe it. You know, and the theist is like, buddy. The atheist is like, put God on the table, bro. Be a man, you know. Put it on the table. Let me see God, right? And the person's like, you have an issue with thinking that what you see is true. Do you understand? We are actually a very faith-based species. Prior to even the prophets coming here and making us conscious of it, We are a supremely faith-based species. Let me explain why. Because evolution even was faith-based. The creature was born in the environment, shaped by the environment, and functioned in the environment, and the environment prepared it, and yet it had a will to choose. When you go to the pharmacy, it's not like, yo, pharmacy, let me go get my PhD in pharmaceuticals and then, you know, in pharmacology, and then I'll come and, have faith in, and I'll examine the exact content of each pill, and then I'll be certain. It's like, no, when you go order food, when you go order coffee, you have faith that it's good coffee. Okay? Faith is another way of saying you're not afraid of what happens. And all those people antagonizing the core foundations of the geometry of the ideology found in religious texts, you're all culturally reacting to it. That means if somebody says like, yo man, how could you be religious, how could you be Muslim, do you want your wife to be covered all the time, I would say to be religious means we are in the presence of the ultimate possibility. Religious people don't only believe in God, they communicate to God. It's called prayer. They ask the higher power for assistance. And then there are also those who they don't vocally ask, they just know that life is too smart to die. And we're too smart as a species not to notice the divine here. And if people are like Mr.Within, can you explain the divine? Yeah, you just, not only there's like 3 levels to it, at least, in a manner of explanation, but it happens when you get tired of yourself, something very taboo in modern culture. But some beings have mastered the art of getting tired of themselves, getting tired of the repetition of meaning. That means it's very difficult. As a noun, do I want my meaning to be like a singular contained object, or like a verb? Is reality dynamic and in motion? And what is the main point there? It's how we look at reality and how deeply we see. To me, the wealthiest people are those that in some sense can have, when they look at this world, they do not just see temporary value. If I ask you right now, and you can't say, imagine you couldn't say yourself, what else do you consider as alive? What do you consider as alive? If right now I ask you, like, yo man, you've been living on this planet, when somebody talks about life, like, what is the essence of that? What is the essence of what makes us alive? What is it that makes us different than androids and robots and machines? What is it that we have that is different than just a mechanical looped output of manifestation? The people on this planet have so much more patience than me. I think the biggest reason where I have this perception on reality now is because Not just because I think I'm kind of destined to be a scout, you know? Like if there was back in the day, what do you call it? Like an army or something, and I was a soldier, right? I would probably go to the general of that army and I'll be like, hey man, I'm very observant and accurate. Give me a horse and let me run forward and scan the environment and bring back information, you know? At first, life was like, what about me? And then I got a bit older and I'm like, what about others? What about everyone else? What do I do with that? What do I do with the burden of realizing there's 8 billion other versions of the human form here? What do I do with this knowing? And above that, that means not only taking care of myself I had to deal with in this life, but I had to take care of others and the species, you know, to the best of my ability, right? But the most important task, that means if they're like, hey man, what's one thing you can tell us to do that's gonna like benefit? I will tell you it's really the major protocol of every consciousness in any sort of world scenario. Think of it this way. You open your eyes, you see your known self. You got to know your known self, and then you're like, okay, what else? Then you realize, okay, there's a known world. You got to know the known world. And then you're like, okay, what's left? Then there is the unknown self. Some people never get to this point. They never get to the unknown self. They live their whole lives like the idea of them was enough for them, but was it? The future generations will roar louder than we have ever fathomed. They will roar in innovation. You don't understand. Earth is not like, the human beings are not alone. And it's not like we're in, if you were yogic, you'd be like, we're in Kali Yuga, bro. It's a tough time of existence. And I'll be like, no. We are in the presence of the Almighty. I don't know who you are. I am not someone here trying to act like, yo man, I'm your commander, listen to me. No. I'm that person telling our whole species, discover the true commander of existence, which is another way of saying, find the original command of manifestation, find the original earth, find the original power. Every concept you have ever known in your life, put the word original in front of it and go after it. Because really, it's about where your attention goes. And why doesn't the species deserve its attention on the most advanced? That means what you call God and you think it's an idea to reject, it is a relationship of a form of manifestation that somehow, either through mercy or destiny or conditioning, is in like out of all the organisms on this planet. Isn't it weird? One species got a next level update and can now contact and notice things that no other species can. We are the chosen species. Isn't it obvious? The higher power has chosen humanity. And if you're like, yo man, was this fate? I would say it was in some sense. I think, like, I don't know, if sometimes in my sci-fi I've imagined, like, you know, how would you start a civilization on like some planet, sci-fi planet? And it's always been like, there is always a mystery in reality that is an eternal calling. That means if they're like, what's your temporary calling? I don't know. I'm figuring it out. So far, it's like podcasting and the kind of work I do in modular housing now. But like, aside from that, I don't know. I'm just one of those souls that feels he has been kind enough, perhaps, God knows, but kind enough to get to see the truth before I die. And we live in an era where our eyes can become voices traveling around the world. The sight of reality, the depth of being, the glory of a species and the void of its meaning. And it's very complex because if they're like, yo man, so what does that mean? What kind, like, are you spiritual now? I would like, if you consider being aware of a system admin in every moment of my existence, then I guess I'm spiritual. But to me, it has nothing to do with me anymore. I've reached that point where, you know, when the poets, ancient Persian poets, like, they would say to die before you die, like that's in Hafiz's poetry. I understand that, but it's not to die before you die. When you die to yourself, you witness the divine. That means, imagine right now, just look in front of you. That's one moment. Let's say that's one unit of a moment. Let's create a unit here and call it momenta. That's one momenta. Okay? Or let me simplify it. Think of, in every moment you're a beam of attention and you have the option of valuing things through the lens of yourself or wondering about the nature of light. Because so far, God is the unfathomable original power to reality. If existence is animating, there's a power behind it. If it's animating in an organized way, there's intelligence behind it. If the intelligence can notice it's intelligent, there's divinity behind it. If there's divinity, God was, in some sense, facing all. You don't understand. It's the greatest common denominator in existence. The creator of creation is the most ingenious way of uniting everything that has been created. That means, I think the reason they say Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the last prophet, not to, like, you know, tell everybody, like, you know, make people feel they can never contact God directly, but to just be like, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, pointed to the ultimate. And it started from what Abraham pointed to, you know, so what Abraham started and Prophet Muhammad, what Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, started and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, concluded. It's the last stepping stone of prophecy because divinity did something light years beyond magic. Divinity made magic obsolete. Divinity was, see, the issue with magic, it's like from the lower world you're trying to go to the higher world. Divinity is when the higher world raises your rank. You don't try to force it. That means, believe it or not, it's based on action too. And it's also based on purity levels. And somebody's going to be like, Mr. Within, what do you mean by purity levels? I mean, there is a sense of, like, a person has a sense of, like, their body being clean. A person has a sense of, like, their mind and type of thoughts being clean. And then I'm saying, to have a clean soul, you have to listen like you should have no problems with your conscience. I don't know how to say it, but that means it's like, okay, so I said there's 3 levels. These levels would be like the first person who notices the system. First, it's like having knowledge that there is a system admin. That's level 1. Okay, level 2 is not something anybody can teach you. It's at the mercy of the system admin, and it's pretty much your day-to-day life becomes not, I'm just giving things meaning. Let me look at how reality is happening. Perhaps how it's happening is is witnessing the divine throughout the day. Because if other animals suddenly became conscious and saw us, they're gonna be like, these humans have had a cheat code. You know? Like a lion doesn't know what a gun is. And somebody like in Africa shoots a lion. Okay? You understand? And imagine that lion's ancestors became conscious and they're like, these human beings were so much more evolved than us that they created weapons while we were still being unconscious savages in our ecosystems. I think the most important thing, can you imagine? I'm one of those guys who, guys, the most important thing is the power of imagination. Can you imagine? Like, no. I'll tell you what the most important thing is, to be honest. Like, I'm giving you advice that if I had a son right now, like, I would probably tell him, if, like, or a daughter, I would, like, this is what I would tell them, right? Because who you find me here is someone with responsibility. Who I am alone is sometimes just a moment of being. I have a very complex inner life because I've wondered why my inner life happens the way it does. It's the search for meaning. And this world has a divine agency, guys. Like, how kind of like modern way can I say it? Like, I'm actually getting tired in this episode. I'm not getting tired of what I'm saying. I'm getting tired of what existence has been. Do you know I have prayed for the advancement of our civilization the moment I realized there's a system admin? I prayed for the greatness of the human species. I don't know how to tell you what it feels like, but it's like realizing, becoming God conscious, suddenly noticing God's presence, how you're within God's attention. And by noticing that, the emotion of reality instantly shifts. God consciousness is the most advanced state, which is another way of saying getting close to the original moment is the most fascinating thing that a simulated entity can do. I am not talking to just souls here. I am talking to your simulated extensions in this world. It's like I'm inside the Matrix, like the movie Matrix. It's like I'm inside the Matrix and so are you. And in the Matrix, I'm telling you it's a Matrix, guys. What do we do about it? Right? And the whole point of it is like, I thought like in my mind, yo man, I'm going to talk about the stuff I do and people are going to run with it like wildfire or something, you know what I mean? It's going to spread like wildfire. And it was like, no, man, it's like, I think I went too deep. I think these talks are honestly too deep for people to tell anybody about it, They're like, I don't know how to explain his lectures. It's like, yeah, me too, man. I'm trying every time. Like, I feel like I need a different song now. Okay. No, that's too intense. Maybe this one. All right, back to it. How do I explain to you that it's not just I was born as a human on Earth in the middle of an unknown cosmos? It's like, yo, bro, you were born here. Can you imagine I become a professor of a university and I start the lecture with yo, bro? You know. How far can we go as a species? For me, I've reached that point where it was like, okay, first phase of life, like, try out yourself. Second phase of life, study yourself. Third phase of life, align yourself. The levels of God consciousness start with first becoming conscious that there is a system admin. Level 2 is those experiencing, seeing the signs of the system admin everywhere. You don't just see a system, you notice that the system intelligence is not like it's guiding you with like hidden coded events. It's pretty much like, I don't know how to tell you, when you have a system admin, there's no such thing as karma anymore. Like, you don't understand. I don't live in a world where karma exists, and this doesn't mean cause and effect or consequences, or I can't distinguish between, like, ethics, of my inner realms and outer realms. No. I am saying that what we are is where we are. Where we are has to do with what, or excuse me, let me say it this way. Prior to creation, a complete moment existed. That means before God created man, the human soul, before God created us, or the first human, there was no awareness to existence in the way that we see now. We are in a commanded reality. Good luck with like scientists trying to figure it out till the end of time. Good luck with that. Even AI can try, but it's just like adorable. The world was commanded. That means the power that brought manifestation wasn't like, yo, did the chicken come first or the egg? It was that the moment where the egg and chicken already existed was born, was created. That means higher realms create moments. We're here with our free will trying to participate creatively in the moment. And we are not perfect. There are moments that help, like somebody can help someone and they don't. Our species is not just, it's like we are compassionate from one angle, from another angle sensitive. Our species has trust issues due to its, savage, chaotic, animalistic, beastly upbringing, okay? They're like, yeah, it's like you go to therapy. You go to therapy and the therapist is like, so tell me, where do you think the problem began? And I'll be like, it's strange. I honestly think it began before existence, but but it had to do with this how we've been evolutionarily designed, and what we are now has been this massive process and a long time. Like, you don't understand. Divinity is just realizing the access you have before time runs out. I have tasked myself, and I hope it's the correct approach. I don't know. Like, I don't know if in the afterlife, there will be a reign of shame, or there will be, in some sense, a sunshine of clarity. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. Right now, like maybe like 80% of this moment is faith, and the 20% of it is me trying to align to what I consider to be not see. Like right now, okay, this is maybe good to say. If I ask you how are you using your intelligence as a human being, you'll be like, I got a body, I move, and I have a mind that could dualistically like formulate ideas. I'll be like, there's something different in how I'm experiencing reality. I have noticed my heart. That means even though I disliked my own inability when I was young, and even though I had exiled myself from being a self in the moment, and I stood many moments in this life just silently watching, you know, as if not realizing that when you don't like yourself, it's very difficult to actually believe in love and stuff like that, because the complexity on the other end is like, yo man, there's chaos pulling my left hand and there is love pulling my right hand, and in the middle of this my ego's telling a story to become some sort of ambition of history. If somebody suddenly shouted madness, I'd be like, you're on to something. Because it is in the madness of reality. It's like, how do I say it? It's not like I'm saying, yo, man, the future generations are going to go insane because we were ignorant. It's like, no. Every soul is a timed force. That means, to me, it's not children being born. It's commanded souls embodying themselves. It's a command. You don't understand. This is what presence is. The presence of your heart. It's not like, yo man, do you mean like my actual heart? No. I mean the core, your relationship with God actually began unconsciously when you were created by God. And my hypothesis, even though we can never know, it's the secret of God, is that only through God's mercy and what He chooses who to know what, the heart space is that space where you are too simple to be evil. And because you're too simple to be evil, you are an innocence value. Like, divinity has its measures. This is why I'm saying it's divine management. Divine management treats different people at different stages in different ways. And it is only ego that corrupts. As if, I don't want to say it's a metaphor, but I want to say it's like all you have to do on this planet is not get enslaved by your ego. Not get limited to a snapshot photo of yourself in a world where every day things are changing you. Like, we must care to keep the ultimate alive behind our eyes. And commands, it's like, yo man, my body moves, my mind thinks, and my heart commands. They're like, there was this story, I don't know where it was from, let's say, but it was from somewhere I don't know. It's like some person attained some sort of wisdom and blessing, like from the divine, and they managed to open the gates of wisdom of their heart. And it was like in the 42nd gate of the heart's, wisdom of the heart. It's like this person discovered this truth of being. We're not trying to paint the unseen. We're not trying to say truth beyond this. What we have access now is absolute in a certain way, but in the way that reality has been structured into a narrative, no offense, but how we have managed to identify as a subjective characters in a story this long is remarkable. There's going to be a time where we would be the most unexplainable geniuses of the generations of people who lived. Even though people are like, yo, man, there's so many foolish people on the planet. I'm like, you don't get it. The way we are alive now, so for me, I have this social anxiety, but it's hilarious if I explain it to you. I have social anxiety of my future self watching me. I have social anxiety from my mind probabilizing different scenarios. You don't understand. My mind works like a film preview. Okay? So I'm having like a virtual reality experience of what I'm talking about. Do you know? And there are advantages and maybe disadvantages to be having a mind like this, but the advantage of it is that your thoughts are being communicated as films. And these films are very easy to remember compared to the mind branching things out into sentence structure, which is what the educational system is doing. That means if somebody told me, yo, man, if we created in the future that it was like a 3D IMAX or virtual reality like classrooms, and they were like, yo, man, the children who can't go to school or don't have access to schools, you just need access to the internet or something, right? And it would be like, I don't know how to explain this to you, but it's the educational system you see now. It can be completely replaced with a cinema. Okay, that means every year to pass a grade, you have to watch films. And these films are genius directors who just got created new jobs by listening to my podcast, right? By realizing that the film media, like, let me tell you, this is maybe something interesting to say. Right now, if there was a spirit to modern media, people would say this is like an evil spirit. But I will say no, because there's human soul there. It's a matter of realizing, like, Hollywood is gonna feel ashamed and too impure to live in this modern advanced, to truly access the advanced civilization in its humility. Media will, it's like right now the media is filled with lies and it's impure. It's gonna become incredibly opposite, where all media stations who've been like, making money by, like, in some sense putting, let's say, whatever amount of money and trying to make like a tragedy the central uh, connection point of the society. But I think it's the advancement of the educational system is to give children understanding. And it's so weird. Every film I've seen in my life, I can remember its plot line, but all the different things I've read and it, like, classified organization sets of information, like, all of that's drifted away. And at some point, this system ends. Like all our efforts of trying to be a good person, bad person. At some point, we make contact with the beyond. And our species can be prepared for that. If I was like a commander of the human species, which I am not, unless, I don't know, something divine authorizes it. Oh, excuse me, not something divine. The system admin authorizes it. I find my life, my real life on this planet to be what did I do with my honest, complete awareness to what I considered as higher intelligence on this planet. There's so many mysteries. It's such a unique system. It has such unique geometry. Why should there be such geometry in the middle of nowhere and human beings adapt to it, calling it existence? We have made the world into a world, yet it was from the beginning a massive unknown event. And what's even fascinating, I mean, like museums or art galleries are giving it away. You know, somebody goes into an art gallery, sees a painting, and it's like, yo, man, this is trash. And another person's like over there crying, being like, this is unleashing emotions I didn't know I have. You know? What does that mean? That means meaning is subjective. Everything that has offended you, everything that has honored you, it has been subjective meaning. Like, just think about it. It's us in the room and our ideas. Like, if you're an atheist, this is the, like, horror you're experiencing. But what is? That means it's like, let me tell you what it is. We are that force in nature that, because it is not originally, the soul is not simulated, but the life is. Like, Islamically, this is my understanding, that before any of us were born, we were in Alam al-Arwah, the world of souls. Souls had a ranking system there. It's not something I could humanize and explain. And when a person is born, it's like the soul is following its command of now it's time to existence, and it enters this life. I forget the guy's name, but somebody on YouTube was saying, like, it was very profound actually. They were saying, like, imagine two children in the womb of a pregnant mother. They're having a conversation. And one of them says, hey man, I think beyond this reality, there's another reality. And the other's like, no man, this is it. Do you know? And he's like, but what is this? And the other one's like, in some sense, yeah man, life is just like an umbilical cord is connected to you, and that's it. You're just connected to the system, and this is your movement ability, and this is it. And imagine the other's like, no, I feel there's a higher power. I feel we are in the presence of the higher power. I feel the higher power knows creation just like it knows itself, everything. Do you understand? To be religious means you're establishing a living, actual relationship with a higher power. But this higher power is not form-based. That means if you want to talk to aliens and have this desires of like superstition, it is not a realm for those who are still playing with, you know, magic, which became obsolete the moment divinity came into the picture. I don't know how it could be otherwise. Because divinity is the evolution of everything that had happened so far. You don't understand what prophecy is. Prophecy is the echo of divine interference in this realm, but it's not interference, it's command. Religions are not a joke. They are legit ancient books, all of them, in which our ancestors are warning us. They're like, yo, man, they're telling me to do this and I'll go there. No, no, no. It's not like a behavior IKEA like manual. You are in the presence of God, which is the most important value. That means, what do you do when you're in the presence of truth? It's all the system admin. You don't understand. My relationship with God has been, I've experienced a moment where I've prayed, I've bowed on my prayer mat, and in that moment, I was not just bowing like a robot. I was bowing to this in my mind's attempt at trying to fathom the most advanced, the most ultimate being, and realizing it cannot, it's limited, and this is when the higher power, uh, in some sense, moves the moment. That means by just noticing your limitations, by realizing your ego is like a giant robot you're in. But what is truly here is not just an analytical intelligence. That means every person should go in nature or some park bench alone and just for a moment sit and open their eyes and then close their eyes and breathe deeply and be like, all right, man, you're existing in a world. All right, man, you're existing in a world, you know? And in that moment, discover, okay, every moment of sight I have ever witnessed has held within it a range of known variables and unknown variables. We are looking for the unknown. It's like the way you meet the unknown is not by the desire to find something. It's by the realization of the simulation. We've reached that era, folks. I'm sorry to say it. We've reached that era in culture and history where it's like before God conscious humans, a God conscious species, we were noticing the divine as the species. Right now, the species, like 8 billion human beings, if you saw it as 100%, like what percentage of this right now is aware of the system admin? And I'll be like, okay, we know the numbers. It's not about trying to convince you like, yo, man, this way of looking at life is the only way to look at life. No, it's just saying like there's a system admin here. There is a life after here. There is protocols to the system, meaning the system is intelligent. The system all returns to the system admin. That means if you're Muslim or religious, you believe that an original being simulated you, simulated the world, simulated every moment of how it's happening, and all this simulation will return. When it is said that one of God's name is, it is the all-knowing. This is in Islam one of God's attributes, the all-knowing. Do you know what that means? That means you do not just know the past, you know the future, therefore the structure of the idea of past and future becomes meaningless. What's more important than time? The presence of truth that you're in front of. I have been facing not just the reality, I have been facing the creation of the system admin. Islam is saying go directly to the system admin, do not take a detour of anything else. Islam is saying that God is not a shape because shapes entrap. The clarity you seek perhaps is beyond the realities that have changed. I am speaking to a species here. I don't know if the species will hear it, but the communication's there. Folks, an advanced civilization. What do we do in the evenings? We drink tea and ponder about the future. For me, you don't understand. It's like somebody said it, and it was such a fascinating metaphor. I heard it in this Muslim video, and the person was saying, like, there's this view. It's not saying this is exactly from, like, I heard somebody in a video say that the day has an age. The morning, when it dawns, like, that's the youngest moment of the day. And then at night, it's like the oldest moment of your day. Every moment, it's like, it's honestly fascinating. Think about it. We're like on this rock, hovering in a space that we can't see its edge. And we're all here like playing this game of like, yeah, guys, we're humans. Yeah, we're on Earth. Yeah. And not realizing that's a storytelling simulation, and most of the species hasn't figured it out. But even if they do figure it out, what's next? If this is a simulation, if the soul is an original command, it's giving a broadcast. It's like instead of going to moderators, you go to the system admin. When you go to the system admin, you will understand that, guys, it's like you're in the presence of that which is so beyond you that its majesty is unimaginable. And you just, for the first time in your life, realize how inferior you are. That was how I experienced it. I felt like I'd lived like a good person, but then I just had this moment where in the presence of God, the soul cannot hide, the ego was just a signal. And the truth seeker meets truth, that it's okay. We are in the presence of a system admin. We are in a divine surveillance state, which means everything in this simulation is being logged. And you are now being witnessed by that which the whole system is praising. They're like, who's judging you? That which everything in manifestation in any level. They're like, are ants religious? It's as if if they are moving in the realm, there is a divine command there. Pretty much how I see it is that consciousness is a divine command, and the mind is bound to the world's natural laws. That means it's like I'm saying, behind the scenes of nature is like divine command, like the hidden code that manifests reality. It is attention oriented. That means attention, the nature of your intelligence as a being, is way more complicated than just your physical being. Your physical being is just being able to get the projector ready, and then the projections of the mind upon reality are its interaction. It's like the soul is using a mind to figure out what world it's in, And the moment it discovers what world it's in, it has noticed the highest power. It's beyond us, guys. The greater story of the world is beyond the human idea. This doesn't mean we shouldn't be human. This means what is our role, and it's as if God is a perfected being, a complete being. God is a being that we cannot fathom as imperfect simulated entities. It's the study of that which moves everything that is beyond us. To be honest, we are like, it feels like the story is saying something like, yo man, you're a soul, but you're a body and mind for a little while too. And I'm like, what? What? You're telling me I'm not just a bunch of atoms that are automating themselves into some form of existence. You're telling me I'm not just the story I've been telling myself my whole life, that I am present in not even what I have been calling a world this whole time, in the presence of the system admin. You are in, it's like we are not at the top of this system, folks. This is not to discourage you. This is just to say that they told us to be honest people. And what does that mean? We do not lie to ourselves. And the first thing we have to realize is the massive linguistic simulation that's everywhere. Reality is on some level, how did you move as an object? And then how did you move as a subject to yourself and others? Like, what is therapy? The dude's like, yo man, how are you like thinking about yourself? Relax and just make a better decision. Just figure it out. You know what I mean? Just, you can do it. Go do it. You know what I mean? Do you know, if I was like somebody, if somebody, I don't know, if I was like, if somebody suddenly was like, yo, do you know, they chose me, do you know, based on my haircut and glasses, they're like, yo man, you seem like an intelligent guy, try to negotiate with the speaker and tell that person on top of a building to get down. I'll be like, first thing I'll be like, hey man, relax, how's the view from up there? Do you know? And he's gonna be like, and then like, I don't know, I haven't thought this through, but I'd probably be like, oh, like, how are you not afraid of heights? Like, at least like lean against the wall a little. Do you know what I mean? Like, give us that comfort. You know what I mean? Sorry guys, this is a laughing matter. I'm just thinking, like, my mind is playful in the sense that it wonders about how the world can move before it has. And it's a matter of a species response. That means I'm like, yo man, like, I don't know, like, how much of a champion and like historic human being I can be, but in a world that's looping, doing something new might have a value, you know. My efforts with these lectures is to be like, all right guys, I like, we acknowledge, you know, the mass collective, you know, beautiful delusion. If extraterrestrials were like looking at us from the sky, like in a sci-fi setting, guys, this is abstract. Like, they would look at us and imagine like a bunch of extraterrestrials are looking at us, and then one extraterrestrial arrives and it's like, hey guys, what are you looking at? And all the extraterrestrials have their fingers on their chin and they're like, we don't really know, man. It's like this species has managed to somehow maintain itself by lying to itself and shrinking the world down to some sort of subjectable, containable mechanism, right? And in some sense, it's like, how do I say it? we've, instead of getting rid of our ignorance, we've fallen into our ignorance, and because we were ignorant, what we deserved was more. I don't know how to say it. It's like because we hadn't seen enough. Like, I don't know. For me, the system admin is not something I have an answer for. It's just I have this attitude where I'm like, if the divine wants to communicate to me, I do understand that I need to be pure hearted. Do you understand? Do you know what that means? That means like God is more truth is more important than like what happens in the world, really. However, truth is judging you based on what happens in the world. Yo, I don't know. Sometimes my mind is like, I guess the downside, I shouldn't say downside, but I guess like something you find with being a visual thinker, that imagine anytime your mind tries to run too far into the future, it can't ignore the idea of death. That means I'm like, no way, man. At some point, like a pilot, I eject out of existence. I'm like, okay. And I think it's kind of like destiny, right? I think it's like, you know how in Game of Thrones there was that scene where that author, like, I don't know his exact name, you know, but that author of Game of Thrones, they say they had this thing with this like family called the Targaryens, where they're like, every time a Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin, and either it's like a benevolent person or a crazy person, you know. Game of Thrones is ridiculous. But at the same time, I think similarly, people who are extroverted and introverted, that's just destiny. Sometimes I wondered, like, what would a super extroverted version of me look like? And I would be like, how could it not be a fool if it flows reactively in a system that it has to actually notice its depth? God is greatness. Humanity's noticing he's not here to just tell his own story. He's here to realize that we can't lie to the children of the species anymore. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we don't have honestly, the time for that. They're like, why don't you lie to them? And I'm like, guys, I mean, there's something more here. You know? It's like, I think that we should give all the information that we think we shouldn't give to children, like knowledge about the cosmos and all the most complex educated, like, you know, methods and systems. All of this should be taught. Like, you don't understand. I want to make it something. Like, I think this would be like a great advanced way of this going about, where before the child has an ego, it has learned the most advanced knowledge on the planet. Do you understand? That means their ego would be formed at a point where it knows, doesn't need to learn, it knows. You don't understand, when you put the word advanced in front of any idea, it's like wondering what the most advanced authorizes and how advanced for the moment to be. It's like, as an ego, it's like, yo, does the system admin authorize like these archetypes I've been presenting in these lectures to be like global? And who can help you in a simulation? They looked at this person, they're like, yo man, you seem very confident. And the person's like, yeah, why shouldn't I be? And they're like, yo man, aren't you scared? And he's like, scared of what? They're like, aren't you scared of death? And the person's like, bro, it's an unknown. It's simulated. So many things in reality are not in conscious control. There's so many ways my mind somehow can fathom way more advanced human beings here. It's honestly become a hobby. Every person I see everywhere, I just imagine what a more advanced version of them would look like. It's like, imagine if, it's honestly like, what is genius? To open doors that we never knew existed and that existed closed. The protocol would be like, okay, stumble a little in the belief that yourself is your meaning, the meaning you give to life is like the main point. And then at some point you realize that's not the main point. The main point is you have to accept you don't know and honestly be present in this system and go through it and see what happens. To be honest, what is destiny for an explorer? The effort to move further. It's effort. They're like, yo man, you gotta be like Goggins, do you know what I mean? Like that athlete. And I'm like, yo man, that guy is like, robots would even clap for him, do you know? But what the human being is a witness of manifestation, and at some point it finds inspiration in the moment, and that inspiration is like, all right, I looked at the things, the surface of reality, now what do I want to see the depth of? Even relationships are like, okay, I've seen someone on the surface, but what is the depth of intelligence connected in one moment? What are we truly being? What are we in the presence of? Do we acknowledge the divine in the moment, or are we just limited to egos and, you know, into shattered egos? Like, what is the point of reality here? Why is there order and chaos at the same time? Like, how can we notice that? Anyways, what else can I say? To me, reality was a story. Every person who we fathom as an idea has a backstory. It's really like we're not just wearing clothes and like moving in civilized ways. Communication is an advanced art of an advanced mind. And the soul moves in ways that are not just based on the ego, but by the command of the system admin. You start off in your ego code, you realize there's a simulation of the way you've held on to life, and then there's how life actually is. Then there is the realization life is not a sort of isness of noun likeness, but it is in some sense a sort of verb of living presence with an intelligence, with the absolute intelligence of reality. Sounds far-fetched, but it's closer than our jugular vein. In the presence of the system admin of reality, how would you behave? That means, in like, imagine in some parallel abstract scenarios, there's like a giant in one civilization, right? But now I'm saying for us, there is a very giant idea, the idea that this world has a host. Spirit is a manifestation of the soul. It's like the shadow of this, of, like, think of it this way. What we consider as imagination in old school terms is how the spirit is the shadow of the soul, how the soul is like a shadow of God, how God is the pure light of being, the ability of consciousness, regardless of what position in reality it is found, as whatever kind of being we are. Our attention opens to the moment is greeted as in containing the presence of truth. Truth is not an idea, it is an ultimate being. It is the realization that man should not get tied down to conception when the context is eternal, when the context is administered by that which we must ask for forgiveness, yet we are fascinated by this creation. Why else would we not be it? We are being in the presence of truth. I'm not saying that for you guys to be like, hurrah. No, no, no. I am saying forget about alien contact, forget about fantasy and sci-fi. You are on Earth now. What you see now has a future. Wonder about the future of the greatness of all of this. Guys, this is us. It's all we are searching for truth and realizing we are in the presence of the opportunity to behave in front of the greatest being. They're like, yo man, how should I behave good? It's like, okay, imagine truth was here and you're a simulated being. How would you behave? Your heart would have already bowed, in the sense of not out of force, but out of pure fascination. That means my God is the most fascinating because it is not an idea. And I can never say my God. I am the created, in the sense that the creator is the true mover of the moment. That's the true faith I have. Like, that's how I understand it. I am right now not in the presence of my species. I'm not just in the presence of this world here. I'm also in the presence of the divine surveillance state. That means everything in a moment is in the attention of truth. All is witnessed. That means every moment there's a way of looking at it beyond human form. Truth is beyond the stories that have looped us for too long. We are here to be in the presence of the system admin, and in Islam, God has no partner. That means conception cannot be the absolute. Truth is beyond here. Here we can just acknowledge we're in the presence of truth and live in the most advanced way as a species. Anyways, thank you for listening. I think to conclude the lecture, in the future, perhaps there will be people walking on clouds, and those clouds are waiting for us. And destiny is like the magnificence of the expression of the actual design of being. And spirituality and divinity is realizing there are commands beyond the natural world, and understanding that the real game of the soul is its original return by the discovery of its original command. To meet truth, that means the original simulated the simulated simulated their own meanings, but then all simulations return to the original. The original was never wrong. That means when it is said God is all merciful, all loving, that means our hearts are being witnessed to. None are alone. The peculiarities of our world is that we are now conscious of the host of manifestation beyond man's imagination. It's a very advanced time. I don't know how our species will be ushered towards it, but greatness waits. And destiny completes its walk. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful.